We are a group of friends, bound by our appreciation for liberty and good podcasting. Free-minded thinkers from all walks of life, our values come together with one accord to discuss the common culture and news of the day, along with whatever random crap is going on in our lives. Welcome to the Union of the Unknowns.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Union of the Unknowns, the Brad Binkley edition. Tonight, we have with us the wonderful Brad Binkley, our guest of honor.
I'm honored to be here.
Well, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us plebs. And then we have the wonderful ATL connector, Jackie, connecting the ATL. We have Terry Canary, our favorite Brit, that's also a Canary, and Stella Q from Down Under, who does a wonderful Crocodile Dundee impression, mind you.
That's not a knife. No, that's British. Sorry. I screwed that one up.
How does an Australian screw up an Australian accent?
I know.
You've broken me. You've broken me, Stella.
That's not
anyways,
nice.
Tonight we have a fun topic. We're going to touch on the Knights of Templar and probably some other secret organizations in the same world as the Knights Templar, and luckily we have Brad Binkley, who is somewhat, I don't know if he'd call himself an expert, but he's well more educated on it than at least me. I can't speak for anyone else here, but so
he definitely is.
Do we know when the Knights of Templar was actually officially started?
They were apparently the first ever police force, according to this story anyway. I don't know when that was, but it was a long time. I mean, it was, I think, I don't want to just guess because I'm not sure, but I want to say back when there was some Jesus talk, BC maybe. I don't know exactly. It's been around a while.
I'll fill in some history. I'll fill in some history for some background. I'm not quite sure exactly. 10 something formed around the time of the First Crusades, and they were formed
That's right. Yep.
to protect pilgrims going to the Middle East and going to Jerusalem because, they were obviously getting attacked by Muslims a lot then. So they were sort of like warrior monks.
Yeah.
So they were like an order of monks who would fight as well. And so that was the original idea of them.
1118. So that's when it was. So not BC. I was inaccurate on that.
Okay, so that is AD.
Yes, AD, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was like Crusades, was it? Or was it around that time?
Crusades, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so apparently they have continued throughout because there's been question of whether they're actually still operating in secret or not. But there's some people who have claimed, at least in the recent past, to have been members of the Knights Templar, descendants of the Knights Templar. They call themselves the Fraternal Police Order, I believe it was. And this is a story that stems from 2015. See, Kamala Harris was the Attorney General of California back then when she was putting a lot of black people in jail for weed that she later would laugh about when she was running for president. But at that time, she had a deputy director of communications, of community affairs. His name was Brandon Keel. And just a little bit of context on him, because the only comment that Kamala's never spoken on this subject. She's never been asked about it other than this one time that I can find. What her office said after this guy got arrested, I'm going to tell you the story, was that he was just a low-level staffer that never really interacted with Kamala. That's not true. He worked very closely with Kamala. Some articles I found that were published in San Francisco newspapers back in 2015 said that he worked directly with her, right underneath her, and he was named to a special group that did a truancy report. So one of the biggest things, like her biggest selling point when she announced her presidential run was, look at all this great work I did in California on truancy. because she had like a task force. And on that task force, she thanked a special group of people who did the best work on that. And there was like 5 people. And this guy, Brandon Keel, was one of them. So he wasn't just a low-level staffer guy. He was someone that she thought highly enough to put in a special group on her most prized program that she did, that she talked about when she ran for president initially. And this Brandon Keel guy, he was arrested in 2015, along with this guy named David Henry, who called himself the Grand Master, and this woman named Tanetta Hayes, for impersonating police officers and for misusing his government identification. And what they were doing was they were going around, these 3 were, to police chiefs. They wrote letters to them first, and then they went and they met with some police chiefs around the state of California. And they told them, we are descendants of the Knights Templar, of the first police force, and we are here to exercise jurisdiction over your precinct and the precincts of police in 33 states and all of Mexico. So this is, they were wearing full cop uniforms when they did this, and they sent letters to all these places that they wanted to go meet with. And, you know, the police, when somebody comes in and does that, are kind of like, okay, that's a little weird. And then they're going to contact Kamala, and they're going to contact her office, and they're going to call the feds. And ultimately, these guys got busted in a sting, and their house, they apparently all lived in a house together where they would have these parties where all these people who weren't really police officers would wear fake police uniforms. They'd come over, they'd have a bunch of weapons, they'd be hanging out, they'd have police cars everywhere, and they busted them. And they brought them in. And when this investigator asked Brandon Keel, the guy who worked for Kamala, what does Kamala have to say about you? Because he was getting these meetings by saying, I work in Kamala Harris's Attorney General's office. That's how he got his foot in the door. And he said, well, Kamala knows all about it and she supports it. That was his answer to that. And nobody's ever asked Kamala about that. And so let me show you a picture. There's these 3 people that went in there. This Brandon Keel guy, he was the liaison. He got their foot in the door, and he was the connection. And then they go in, and the guy, the Grand Master, David Henry, who was apparently Brandon Keel's father-in-law, he was the Grand Master of this Knights Templar police fraternal order that they were saying that they were part of. That's what he called himself. And here's how he dressed. Let me share my screen with you here. So give you...
Well, before you pull that up, can I ask you, is this going to be creepier than the supervillain costume that Klaus Schwab likes to wear?
Is that the one that he wore at that meeting that looked like a Star Trek outfit?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is definitely, I don't know if it's creepier. It's more cartoonish for sure.
Hey, I like cartoonish.
Yeah. All right.
Man, they couldn't be more characteristic if they tried.
All right.
Well, and I think that's the thing, is that they don't even have to try, because they hold all the powers. So they just get to do whatever they want, and then get the entire media to just call everyone a conspiracy theorist.
Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Union of the Unknowns. You can find new episodes every week on all your favorite podcasting networks.